All right, we're back. We're back. We're back. Ooh, we are back. We are back at it. Y'all, it is getting cold. Y'all, the devil almost had me. I got in that bed after I read at 5. I got in that bed and I laid down and I was on TikTok just scrolling and my eyes started to close and I said, "No, this this cannot be right now. This cannot be right now. I have to get on here and I have to get on my Zoom." Ooh. All right, so um, like I said, we in the process of catching up, and I have right here that I should be reading 1 through 10 for Judges, but for Joshua, I read 16 through 24, not 21 through 24, like I'm supposed to. Oh yes. So I don't know if we'll be able to get through the whole Judges 1 through 10, but what I will do and what I can promise is that we're going to at least get through Judges 1. That's all I can promise. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. All right. All right, Judges. Ooh. Okay. Oh, my phone on do not disturb. Okay. We're on do not disturb. Okay. All right. Let's get it. So, chapter 1. Judah conquers Jerusalem. Now, after the death of Joshua, it came to pass that the children of Israel asked the Lord, saying, "Who shall be the first to go up against the Canaanites to fight against them?" And the Lord said, "Judah shall go up. Indeed, I have delivered the land into his hand." So Judah said to Simeon his brother, "Come up with me to my allotted territory, that we may fight against the Canaanites. I will likewise go with you to your allotted territory." And Simeon went with him. Then Judah went up, and the Lord delivered the Canaanites and the Perizzites into their hand, and they killed 10,000 men at Bezek. And they found Adonai Bezek and fought against him, and they defeated the Canaanites and the Perizzites. Then Adonai Bezek fled, and they pursued him and caught him and cut off his thumb and his big toes. And Adonai Bezek said, 70 kings with their thumbs and big toes cut off, used to gather scraps under my table as I have done, so God has repaid me. Then they brought him to Jerusalem, and there he died. Now the children of Judah fought against Jerusalem and took it, and they struck it with the edge of the sword and set the city on fire. And afterwards the children of Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites who dwelt in the mountains in the south and in the lowland. Then Judah went against the Canaanites who dwelt in Hebron, and they killed Sheshai, Ahiman, and Talmai. Caleb gives Asha to Othniel. From there they went to the inhabitants of Debir. Then Caleb said, "Whoever attacks Kirjath Sepher and takes it to him, I will give my daughter Asha as a wife." And Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, took it. So he gave him his daughter Asha as a wife. Now it happened when she came to him and she urged him to ask her father for a field, and she dismounted from her donkey and said to Caleb, "What do you wish?" So she said to him, "Give me a blessing since you have given me land in the south. Give me also the springs of water." We've read this before. And Caleb gave her the upper springs and the lower springs. Judah gains more cities. Now the children of Kenite, Moses' father-in-law, went up to the city of palms, and the children of Judah into the wilderness of Judah, which lies in the south near Arad. And they went and dwelt among the people. And Judah went, whoa, whoa, whoa. Children of Judah. Okay. And Judah went with his brother Simeon, and they attacked the Canaanites who inhabited Zephath and utterly destroyed it. Good. So the name of the city was called Hormah. Also, Judah took Gaza with its territory, Ashkelon with its territory, and Ekron with its territory. So the Lord was with Judah, and they drove out the mountaineers, but they could not drive out the inhabitants of the lowland because they had chariots of iron. That doesn't make sense to me. because everybody else had chariots of iron and the Lord still didn't make sense to me. And they gave Hebron to Caleb, as Moses said. Then he expelled from there the three sons of Anak. But the children of Benjamin did not drive out the Jebusites who inhabited Jerusalem. So the Jebusites dwelled with the children of Benjamin to Jerusalem to this day, which is a problem to me. Bethel is taken, and the house of Joseph also went up against Bethel, and the Lord was with them. Okay, so hold on. Because it says, and the house of Joseph also went up against Bethel, and the Lord was with them. When it comes to Judah gaining more cities, I do not see it saying the Lord is with him. So maybe that is why he could not drive out the ones who had chariots of iron, because the Lord was with him. I'm not quite sure, but I just think that that just came to my mind. Anyway, Bethel is taken, and the house of Joseph also went up against Bethel, and the Lord was with them. So the house of Joseph spent men to spy out Bethel, and the name of the city was formerly known as Luz. And when the spies saw a man coming out of the city, they said to him, "Please show us the entrance to the city, and we will show you mercy." So he showed them the entrance of the city, and they struck the city with the edge of the sword, but they let the man and all his family go. And the man went to the land of the Hittites, built a city, and called it the name Luz, which it is the name of its day. Cities not taken, however, hold on. Oh, sorry, I'm still trying to figure out this whole little live thing. Anyway, however, Manasseh did not drive out. Come on. Manasseh did not drive out, because all of this, he did not drive out the inhabitants of Beth Shean and its villages, or Tanakh and its villages, or the inhabitants of Dor and its villages, or the inhabitants of Ibleam and its villages, or the inhabitants of Megiddo and its villages. For the Canaanites were determined to dwell in that land, and it came to pass when Israel was strong, and they put the Canaanites under tribute, but did not completely drive them out, which is a problem, because the whole time that the Israelites were together, the Lord was saying, we were talking about keeping them holy, and that's why he didn't want them to allow sin to be amongst them. And not only that, but the Lord told them, don't let them be with you, don't marry with them, don't be with their gods, don't interact with them for real, because he understands influence. So for Manasseh's tribe to let all these people stay, it's a problem, because the Lord literally said they're going to give you headache. They're going to give you headache. Nor did Ephraim drive out the Canaanites who dwelt in Jezer, so the Canaanites dwell in Jezer among them. Nor did Zebulun drive out the inhabitants of Kitron, or the inhabitants of Naholo, so the Canaanites dwelt among them, and they were put under tribute. Nor did Asher drive out, so all of them just not driving the people out, which is wow. Nor did Asher drive out the inhabitants of Akko, or the inhabitants of Sodom, or Alab, or Ashzib, or Helba, or Aphik, or Rehob. So the Asherites dwelt among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land, for they did not drive them out. Nor did Naphtali drive out the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh, or the inhabitants of Beth Anath, but they dwelt among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land. Nevertheless, the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh and Beth Anath were put under tribute to them. And the Amorites forced the children of Dan into the mountains. So you did not drive them out, and now they're forcing you into the mountains. For they would not allow them to come down to the valley. This is the land that the Lord has promised them. And because they did not drive out the evil, now they're not even allowed to be in their own land, which is crazy. And the Amorites were determined to dwell in Mount Heres, in Ajalon, and in Shalbim. Yet when the strength of the house of Joseph became greater, they were put under tribute. Now the boundary of the Amorites was from the ascent of Akram, from Selah and upward. Chapter 2, the reason for defeats. Here we go. Then the angel of the Lord came up from Gilgal to Bochim and said, I led you from Egypt and brought you to the land of which I swore to your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you, and you shall make no covenant with inhabitants of the land. You shall tear down their altars, but you have not obeyed my voice. Why have you done this? Therefore I said, I will not drive them out before you, and they shall be thorns in your side. That's what I was looking for. I'm like, I knew they were going to be irritants, but it was thorns, and their God shall be a snare to you. So it was when the angel of the Lord spoke these words to all the children that the people lifted up their voices and they wept. They called the name of that place Bochim, and they sacrificed there to the Lord. And when Joshua dismissed the people, the children of Israel went to each of his own inheritance to possess the land. Joshua dies. So the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders who outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works of the Lord, which he had done for Israel. Now Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died when he was 110 years old, and they buried him within the border of his inheritance at Timnah-Heres in the mountains of Ephraim, on the north side of Mount Gash. When all the generation had been gathered to their fathers, another generation rose after them, who did not know the Lord nor the work which he had done for Israel. You got to make sure that we got to make sure the next generation needs to know the Lord. Israel turns away from God. Then the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord and served the Baals. And they forsook the Lord, the God of their fathers, who brought them out of the land of Egypt. Baals is, hold on, 13. This is Canaanite goddess is 213. Oh, so that's the Ashereths. Anyway, they served the Baals, and that's a different god. And they forsook the Lord, their God of their fathers, who brought them out of the land of Egypt, and they followed other gods from among the gods of the people who were all around them. We gotta be careful about who were around. And they bowed down to them, and they provoked the Lord to anger. They forsook the Lord, and they served Baal and the Ashereths, which is the Canaanite goddesses. And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, so he delivered them into the hands of the plunderers who despoiled them, and he sold them into the hands of their enemies all around, so they could no longer stand before their enemies. Wherever they went out, the hand of the Lord was against them for calamity, as the Lord had said, and as the Lord had sworn to them, and they were greatly distressed. Nevertheless, the Lord raised up judges who delivered them out of the hand who plundered them. So the Lord's hand came against them, but he also raised up judges to help deliver them. Yet they would not listen to their judges, but they played the harlot with other gods and bowed down to them. They turned quickly from which the way their fathers walked in obeying the commandments of the Lord. They did not do so. And when the Lord raised judges for them, the Lord was with the judge and delivered them out of the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For the Lord was moved by pity with their groaning because of those who oppressed them and harassed them. And it came to pass when the judge was dead that they reverted and behaved more corruptly than their fathers by following other gods to serve them and to bow down to them. They did not cease from their own doings nor their stubborn way. Then the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he said, because this nation has transgressed my covenant, which I commanded their fathers, and has not heeded my voice, I will also no longer drive out before them any of the nations which Joshua left when he died. So that though I may test Israel whenever they keep them or not, therefore the Lord left those nations without driving them out immediately, nor did he deliver them into the hand of Joshua. Crazy. So chapter 2 of Judges really just show. Actually, I'm not going to say chapter 2. I'm going to say chapter 2, verse 11, all the way until chapter 3 really shows, like, it really explains the whole book of Judges, because all Judges is the Israelites getting a judge, following them, being delivered, and then they just go back to what they were doing before. So it's just really wild. It's really wild, really wild, really wild. Who wrote Judges? So the writer of Judges is unknown. Okay. I want to know who wrote Judges. All right. Chapter 3. Nations are left to test Israel. Now, these are the nations which the Lord left that he may test Israel by them. That is all those who had not known the wars of Canaan. This was only so that the generations of the children of Israel may be taught to know war, at least those who have not formally known it. So he's saying he's putting them through war because they don't know what war is. So they got to go through war. namely 5 lords of the Philistines, all the Canaanites, the Sidonians, and the Hivites who dwelt in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon to the entrance of Hamath. And they were left that he may test Israel by them to know whether they would obey the commandments of the Lord, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. So they were left as a test. They were left as a test to see if Israelites would obey. Which means that every negative thing that comes to us isn't from the devil. Sometimes we're tested to see where our faith is at. Thus the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And they took their daughters to be their wives, which they weren't supposed to do. And they gave their daughters to their sons, and they served their gods. All the stuff that they were not supposed to do. Othniel judges Israel. So the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and they forgot the Lord their God, and served Baals and Asherahs. Therefore the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of Cushan Risham, the king of Mesopotamia. And the children of Israel served Cushan Rishathaim 8 years. And the children of Israel cried out to the Lord, and the Lord raised them up a deliverer from the children of Israel, who delivered them, Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he judged Israel. He went out to the war, and the Lord delivered Cushan Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia, into his hand, and his hand prevailed over Cushan Rishathaim. So the land had rest for 40 years. Then Othniel, the son of Kenaz, died. Ehud kills Eglon, the king of Moab, and the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord. So the Lord strengthened Eglon, the king of Moab, against Israel, because they had done evil in the sight of the Lord. Then he gathered to himself the people of Ammon and Amalek, and went and defeated Israel, and took possession of the city of palms. So the children of Israel served Eglon, the king of Moab, 18 years. That's a long time. But when the children of Israel cried out to the Lord raised up a deliverer from him, Ehud the son of Jerah, and the Benjamite, a left-handed man. By him the children of Israel sent tribute to Eglon, the king of Moab. Now Ehud made himself a dagger. It was double-edged and a cubit in length, and fastened it under his clothes on the right thigh. So he brought the tribute to Eglon, the king of Moab. Now Eglon was a very fat man. And when he had finished presenting the tribute, he sent away the people who had carried the tribute. But he himself turned back from the stone images that were at Gilgal, and said, I have a secret message for you, O king. And he said, keep silent. And all who attended him went out from him. So Ehud came to him. Now he was sitting upstairs in his cool private chamber. Then Ehud said, I have a message from God for you. So he arose from his seat, and Ehud reached with his left hand and took the dagger from his right thigh and thrust it into his belly. Even the hilt went in after the blade, and the fat closed over the blade, for he did not draw the dagger out of his belly, and his entrails came out. Then Ehud went through the porch and shut the doors of the upper room behind him and locked them. And when he had gone on, Eglon's servants came to look, and to their surprise, the doors of the upper room were locked. So they said, he's probably attending his needs in the cool chamber. So they waited till they were embarrassed, and still he had not opened the doors of the upper room. Therefore they took the key and opened it for him, and there was their master fallen dead on the floor. The Moabites are defeated, but Ehud had escaped while they delayed, and passed beyond stone images and escaped to Syria. And it happened when he arrived that he blew the trumpet in the mountains of Ephraim. The children of Israel went down with him from the mountains, and he led them. Then he said to them, follow me, for the Lord has delivered your enemies, the Moabites, into your hand. So they went down after him and seized the fords of the Jordan leading to Moab, and did not allow anyone to cross over. And at that time they killed 10,000 men of Moab, all stout of valor, not a man escaped. So Moab was subdued that day under the hand of Israel, and the land had rest for 80 years. All right. Shagamar delivers Israel. After him was Shagamar the son of Anath, who killed 600 men of the Philistines with an ox goad, and he also delivered Israel. So we already see 2 times. They disobey the Lord, messing with other gods, marrying their daughters. And then the Lord raises up a judge because they're crying out, save us, save us, save us. The judge defeats whoever they need to defeat, and they go back to the same sin, which is just like us, where we fall into sin and then we cry out to the Lord, like, help me. Like, Deliver me from this sin. Deliver me from what I'm doing. And the Lord comes back, and then we find something else to get into. Like, it's really easy to judge them, but this is the same thing for us. So, chapter 4, Deborah judges Israel. Now, when Ehud was dead, the children of Israel did again evil in the sight of the Lord. So the Lord sold them to the hand of Jabin, the king of Canaan, who reigned in Hazor. The commander of his army was Sisera, who dwelt in Hashrath Hagoim. And the children of Israel cried out to the Lord. Hold on. I think this is hurting my back. I might need to give me a real chair because I feel like it's hurting my back. What was it? And the children of Israel cried out to the Lord, for Jabin had 900 chariots of iron, and for 20 years he harshly oppressed the children of Israel. Okay. Now, Deborah, a prophetess, which means that she has a calling on her life from the Lord. Okay. The wife of Lebedoth was judging Israel at that time, and she would sit under the palm trees of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in the mountains of Ephraim. And the children of Israel came to her for judgment. So that means that she's being used by the Lord. So the people who say women can't be used by the Lord in the church, not true. Then she sent and called for Barak, the son of Abinoam, from Kadesh and Naphtali, and said to him, Has not the Lord of God of Israel commanded, Go and deploy the troops at Mount Tabor? Come on now. Has the Lord not commanded, which means he's saying, the Lord told you to war. Take with you 10,000 men of the sons of Naphtali for the sons of Zebulun, and against you I will deploy Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his multitude at the river Kishon, and I will deliver them into your hand. And Barak said to her, If you will go with me, come on now, if you will go with me, then I will go. But if you do not go with me, I will not go. And that is exactly how it be when we find somebody who we know is with the Lord and we know can intercede on our behalf. We'd be like, I do not want to do this without you. You want to do it with the Lord and the people that the Lord is using. So she said, I will surely go with you. Nevertheless, there will be no glory for you in the journey that you are taking, for the Lord will sell Sisera into the hands of a woman. Do you hear me? Into the hands of a woman. Then Deborah, or is it Deborah? I'm going to say Deborah, arose and went to Barak to Kadesh. And Barak called out Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh. And he went up with 10,000 men under his command, and Deborah went up with him. Barak's men put Sisera to flight. Now, Heber the Kenite, the children of Hobab, the father-in-law of Moses, had separated himself from the Kenites and pitched his tent near the terebinth tree at Zenaim, which is beside Kadesh. And they reported to Sisera that Barak, the son of Abinoam, had gone to Mount Tabor. So Sisera gathered together all his chariots, 900 chariots of iron, and all the people who were with him, from Harosheth Hagoim to the river of Kishon. Then Deborah said to Barak, Up, for this is the day in which the Lord has delivered Sisera into your hand. Has not the Lord gone out before you? So Barak went down from Mount Tabor with 10,000 men following him. And the Lord routed Sisera and all his chariots and all his army with the edge of the sword before Barak. And Sisera alighted from his chariot and fled away on foot. But Barak pursued the chariots and the army as far as Harosheth and Hagoim, and all the army of Sisera fell by the edge of the sword, and not a man was left. Jael killed Sisera with a tent peg. Come on now. However, Sisera had fled away on foot to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, and there was a peace between Jabin the king of Hazor and the house of Heber the Kenite. And Jael went to meet Sisera, and she said to him, Turn aside, my lord, turn aside to me, and do not fear. And when he had turned aside with her into the tent, she covered him with a blanket. Come on now, girl. And he said to her, Please give me a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. So she opened up a jug of milk, okay, and gave him a drink and covered him. And he said to her, Stand at the door of the tent, and if any man comes and inquires of you and says, Is there any man here? You shall say, No. Then Jael, Heber's wife, took a tent peg and took a hammer, okay, in her hand, and went softly to him and drove the peg into his temple and went to the ground. Do you hear me? Through his head into the ground. So he was fast asleep and weary. So he died. Then Barak pursued Sisera, and Jael came out to meet him, and she said, "Come, I will show you the man whom you seek." And when he went to her tent, there lay Sisera dead with a peg in his temple. So on that day, God subdued Jabin, the king of Canaan, into the presence of the children of Israel. And the hand of the children grew stronger and stronger against Jabin, the king of Canaan, until they destroyed Jabin, the king of Canaan. Hello. If I don't know if we're going to stay on here or not, but we are in Judges chapter 5. Okay. So Deborah and Barak sing. Then Deborah and Barak, the son of Abinoam, sang that day, saying, "When leaders lead in Israel, when the people willingly offer themselves, bless the Lord. Hear, O king, give ear, O princess. Even I, sing to the Lord. I will praise the Lord, God of Israel. Lord, when you went out from Seir, when you marched from the field of Edom, the earth trembled and the heavens poured. The clouds also poured water. The mountains gushed before the Lord. This Sinai before the Lord God of Israel. In the days of Shamgar, the son of Anath, in the days of Jael, the highways were deserted, and the travelers walked along the byways. Village life ceased, and it ceased in Israel until I, Deborah, arose. Do you hear me? Because she said a woman is going to get the glory. Arose a mother in Israel. They choose new gods when there was war in the gates. Not a shield or a spear was seen among 40,000 in Israel. So she's saying we didn't have no shields and we didn't have no spears. My heart is with the rulers of Israel, who offered themselves willing with the people. Bless the Lord. Speak, you who ride on white donkeys, who sit in judges' attire, and who walk along the road, far from the noise of the archers among the watering places. There they shall recount the righteous acts of the Lord, the righteous acts for his villagers in Israel. Then the people of the Lord shall go down to the gates. The victory is recounted. Awake, awake, Deborah. Awake, awake, sing a song. Arise, Barak, and lead your captives away, O son of Abinoam. Then the survivors came down, and the people against the nobles. The Lord came down for me against the mighty. From Ephraim were those whose roots were in Amalek. After you, Benjamin, with your peoples. From Asher, rulers came down, and from Zebulun, those who bear the recruiter's staff. And the princes of Issachar were with Deborah. So Issachar was Barak, sent into the valley under his command among the divisions of Reuben. There was great resolve of the heart. Why did you sit among the sheepfolds to hear piping for the flocks? The divisions of Reuben have great searchings of heart. Gilead stayed beyond the Jordan, and why did Dan remain on ships? Asher continued at the seashore and stayed by his inlets. Zebulun is a people who jeopardize their lives to the point of death. Naphtali also on the heights of the battlefield. So she's saying of course she's giving praise that they won, right? But not only is she giving praise that they won, but she's also calling people out. Like she's saying, why did Dan remain on the ships? Like where was they when we was fighting? It says Asher continued at the seashore, going about their day. Why did you sit among the sheepfold? Like she's calling people out. Like where was y'all at? The kings came out and fought. Then the kings of Canaan fought. In Tanakh by the waters of Megiddo, they took no spoils of silver. They fought from the heavens. The stars of their courses fought against Sisera. The torrent of Kishon swept them away. The ancient torrent, the torrent of Kishon. O my soul, march on in its strength. Then the horse's hooves pounded, the galloping of his steed. Curse Miraz, the angel of the Lord, said the angel of the Lord. Curse its inhabitants bitterly, because they did not come to help the Lord against the mighty. Jael is praised for her courage. Most blessed among women is Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. Blessed is she among the women in tents. He asked for water, she gave milk. She brought out cream in a lordy bowl. She stretched her hand to the tent peg, her right to the workman's hammer. She pounded Sisera, she pierced his head. She split and struck through his temple. At her feet he sank, he fell, he lay still. At her feet he sank, he fell. Where he sank, there he fell, dead. The mother of Sisera looked through the window and cried out through lattice, "Why is his chariot so long in coming? Why tarries the clatter of his chariots?" Her wisest ladies answered her. Yes, she answered herself. Are they not finding and dividing the spoil to every man or girl or two? For Sisera plundered the dyed garments, 2 pieces of dyed embroidery for the neck of the looter. Thus let all your enemies perish, O Lord, but let those who love him be like the sun when it comes out in full strength. So the land had rest for 40 years. She went crazy because she like, where was y'all at? And not only that, I'm telling y'all, like the women did this. The women made this whole thing happen. Okay. Okay. I think I'm gonna read a couple more chapters. I'm gonna read until thank you for the hearts. I'm gonna read until I think I'm gonna read ooh. This is one of my favorite. Oh my gosh, if you are on here, this is one of my favorite stories in the Bible. Oh my gosh, we just came upon it. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe that I didn't even peep game. Okay. Okay, so we are in Judges 6. This is like literally this story came up so much. Like I'm like, Lord, what are you trying to tell me? And I still don't know what you're trying to tell me, but we're gonna read it right now because this is a good story. I love the story. Anyway, Judges chapter 6. Israel's rebellion brings oppression. Then the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, so the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midian for 7 years. And the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel. Because of the Midianites, the children of Israel made for themselves the dens, caves, and strongholds which are in the mountains. So they was hiding in the mountains. So it was whenever Israel had sown, the Midianites would come up. Also, the Amalekites and the people of the east would come up against them. Then they would encamp against them and destroy the produce of the earth as far as Gaza and leave no sustenance for Israel, neither sheep, nor ox, nor donkey. For they would come up with their livestock and their tents, coming in as numerous as locusts, both they and their camels without number, and they would enter the land to destroy it. So Israel was greatly impoverished because of Midianites, and the children of Israel cried out to the Lord. So they're saying, not only did they have to live in the mountains, but they would be growing stuff and having ox and having sheep and all this stuff. And the Midianites would come up and they would steal it all. So they were greatly impoverished and they probably were starving because they couldn't even eat half the stuff. They couldn't even eat the stuff they had. A prophet chides Israel. And it came to pass when the children of Israel cried out to the Lord because of the Midianites, that the Lord sent a prophet to the children of Israel who said to them, Thus says the Lord God of Israel, I brought you from Egypt and brought you out of the house of bondage, and I delivered you out of the house of the Egyptians and out of the hand of all who oppressed you, and drove them out before you and gave you their land. Also I said to you, I am the Lord your God. Do not fear the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell, but you have not obeyed my voice. The angel of the Lord visits Gideon. This is where it gets good. This is where it gets good. Now, the angel of the Lord came and sat under the terebinth tree, which was the Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abizarite, while his son Gideon threshed wheat in a winepress in order to hide it from the Midianites. So he has to thresh wheat. If you don't know what the threshing floor is or what a winepress is, they are not. They are not correlated. So he is hiding in the wine press to thresh the wheat so he can hide that food from the Midianites because the Midianites come and they steal everything. Okay. Okay. Oh, it says, and the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said, The Lord is with you, you mighty man of valor. Now listen, he is hiding from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord said, You mighty man of valor. Like, hold on, because it doesn't really feel like I'm mighty. The fact that I have to hide my food. Okay. This is the angel of the Lord saying this, which could probably seem irritating because it's like, I do not feel like this. But when the Lord sees something in you and calls it out of you, it's in you. Gideon said to him, O my Lord, if the Lord is with us, then why has all of this happened to us? And where are all of his miracles which our fathers told us about, saying, Did not the Lord bring us out of Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites. Then the Lord turned to him and said, Go in this might of yours. So hold on a second. So the fact that Gideon is saying, Where is the Lord that our fathers told us about? Is showing that his parents, whoever he came from, whoever he was around, they were talking about the Lord. They were telling them like the testimonies and stuff, which means that they are believers and they're followers. And just like some of us grew up in church and they know what their parents talked to them about. They know the word, all that stuff. They're like, where? He's like, where is he at though? Like, you did that for my fathers, but why is you not doing that for us? Then the Lord turned to him and said, Go in this might of yours. Go in this might of yours. Mind you, he doesn't even have no might for real. Like he's like, what are we talking about? And you shall save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have I not sent you? So he said, "Oh my Lord, how can I save Israel? Indeed, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. I come from the weakest clan, and I'm the least. Oh my gosh, the Lord will really take us where we're at." And the Lord said to him, "Surely I will be with you, and you shall defeat the Midianites as one man." Then he said to him, "If now I have found favor in your sight, then show me a sign that it is you who talk to me. Do not depart from me, I pray, until I come to you and bring my offering and set it before you." What is this? First of all, what do you think his offering is going to be? He don't have nothing. The Midianites take everything. Like, is he going to give a goat? Is he going to give a lamb? Is he going to give grain? He has literally nothing because the Midianites take everything. So, like, what is he supposed to give to them? And he said, "I will wait until you come back." So Gideon went and prepared a young goat. Mind you, they don't even be having stuff. Hey, girl, I love you. My sister on here, Christina. They don't even have nothing because they literally steal everything that they have. So it says, so Gideon went and prepared a young goat and unleavened bread from a file of flour, which means that even though he doesn't have much, he still has enough sense and like he still knows to offer to the Lord. The meat he brought in the basket, and he put the broth in the pot, and he brought them out to him under the tabernacle tree and presented them. And the angel of God said to him, "Take the meat and the unleavened bread and lay them on this rock and pour out the broth." And he did so. Then the angel of the Lord put out the end of the staff that was in his hand and touched the meat and the unleavened bread, and the fire rose out of the rock and consumed the meat and the unleavened bread. Do you hear me? And the angel of the Lord departed out of his sight. Now Gideon perceived that he was an angel of the Lord. So Gideon said, "At last, O Lord God, for I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face." Mind you, nobody else has really seen the Lord face to face but Moses. Oh my gosh, I didn't even put that together until now. Face to face like Moses. Then the Lord said to him, "Peace be with you. Do not fear, you shall not die." So Gideon built an altar there to the Lord and called it "The Lord is Peace." To this day, it is still an offer of Israelites. Gideon tears down the altar of Baal. Now it came to pass that same night that the Lord said to him, "Take your father's bull, the second bull of 7 years old, and tear down the altar of Baal that your father has." Wow. So hold on. It came to pass that same night that the Lord said, "Take your father's young bull and the second bull of 7 years old and tear down the altar of Baal that your father has." So, what does this mean? Oh my gosh. This means that, hold on, where am I? This means that the same father that was talking about how good the Lord is the same father who was worshiping Baal. So, he knows God and still worship Baal the same way that we can worship other things that don't serve us. Wow, that is good. So okay, so take your father's young bull and the second bull of 7 years old and tear down the altar of Baal that your father has and cut down the wooden image that is beside it and build an altar to the Lord your God on top of this rock in the proper arrangement. And take the second bull and offer a burnt offering with the wood of the image which you shall cut down. So Gideon took 10 men from among his servants and did as the Lord had said to him. But because he feared his father's household and the men of the city too much to do it by day, he did it by night. So even if you do it scared, do it. He was scared of his father and the people, but he still did it. So this is showing you can still do things scared. Okay. Of course, we always talk about bold faith and being bold about our worship and stuff. But like sometimes it's scary. It's scary to come against stuff that the world deems normal. Like the men of Ophrah are angered, and when the men of the city rose in the morning, the altar of Baal was torn down, and the wooden image that was beside it was cut down, and the second bull was being offered on the altar which had been built. So they said to one another, "Who has done this thing?" And they inquired and they asked, and they said, "Gideon the son of Joash has done this thing." Then the men of the city said to Joash, "Bring out your son that he may die, because he has torn down the altar of Baal, and because he has cut down the wooden image that was beside it." But where was this energy when y'all wasn't serving the Lord? Okay. But Joash said to all who stood against him, would you plead for Baal? Would you save him? Let the one who would plead for him be put to death by morning. If he is God, let him plead for himself, because his altar had been torn down. He therefore on that day he called him Jerubbaal, saying, let Baal plead against him because he had torn down his altar. So he's saying, let Baal do it. Gideon assembles an army. Then all the Midianites and the Amalekites and the people of the east gathered together, and they crossed over and encamped at the valley of Jezreel. But the Spirit of the Lord came upon Gideon, and he blew the trumpet, and the Abiezrites gathered behind him, and he sent out messengers through all of Manasseh who gathered behind him. And he also sent out messengers to Asher, Zebulun, and Naphtali, and they came to meet them. So the Midianites and the Amalekites gathered together, and they crossed over and were camping. So it's a whole bunch of them. And Gideon still blow that trumpet. Okay. Gideon questions God with the fleece. So Gideon said to God, if you will save Israel by my hand, as you have said, look, I shall put a fleece of wool on the threshing floor. If there is dew on the fleece only, and it is dry on the ground, then I shall know that you will save Israel by my hand, as you have said. And it was so. When he rose early that next morning, do you hear me? And squeezed the fleece together, he wrung the dew out of the fleece, a bowl full of water. The 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 oh my gosh, I can't even speak. The ground is dry, but that fleece is filled with water. Do you hear me? Then Gideon said to God, do not be angry with me, but let me speak once more. Let me test. Let me test. He wants to test the Lord. The Lord had no problem with passing the test. I pray just once more the fleece, let it now be dry only on the fleece, but the ground let there be dew. And God did so that night, and it was dry on the fleece only, but there was only dew on the ground, which we have talked about before. The Lord will literally have stuff acting unnaturally to get his point across. He's going to pass that test every time. Okay? So we read Judges 1 through 6 today. Um, 1 through 6 we read. So tomorrow I'm going to read 10 to like 13 and then 14 to like 21 because I'm trying to catch up. So if you are now joining, I read the Bible every day at 5. I was out of town the last 3 weekends, so I fell behind. So we're trying to, we're trying to like get it back together because I fell behind with all the travel that I was doing. So this is 5 p.m. Central Time that I normally read. And then if I still got some energy, I'll get back on like an hour later, like I did today. So with that being said, if you want to join, I will be on here tomorrow at 5 Central Time. And we're going to read Judges 7 through 13 at 5. And then hopefully I'll get back up and read 14 through 21 so we can catch up. So I will talk to y'all later. And y'all have a wonderful day. Bye.